many Ling pushes. So, and a lot of Niduses actually in that series. So I'm curious to see if that's going to be the case. It was in order to punish Muta. So Muta play also in the cards for this series. And I am so excited. I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control and I think I like it, Ravi. And in the bottom right-hand side, it is the blue Zerg player for Africa Freaks. It is Armani. What is that, Africa Freaks?
Africa Freaks.
Oh, they changed their logo. I was so scared.
And up here at the top left-hand side of the map, we have the red Zerg player from Team Alpha X. He is Ragnarok.
Okay, no early shenanigans here. Both players going for a 16 hatchery. So both players anticipating that there could be something like a, actually it's very unlikely that there is something like a 12 pull. It is one of the longer maps. 16 hatchery is not really cutting any corners, to be honest. So yeah, just as standard as can be. Expect to see a gas and a pool unless one player chooses to deviate. But no, here come the gases.
Yeah. So Paulo, I feel like Zombie Grub actually touched upon something that I really do also agree with, which is I feel like the Korean Zergs do have their own very aggressive style of ZVZ. What do you think of when you think of like Korean Zergs and ZVZ?
Exactly that, most certainly. I think they're all like laser like players where they are going to be in your face and they're going to be attacking each other. And you know, when the Europeans tend to look at Korean CVC, a lot of the time there's like little to understand. Like I've seen players of very high caliber trying to analyze the plays that Dark makes, and they're like, this doesn't make any sense, this shouldn't work. And yet the Korean CVC, as much as it is criticized oftentimes but by non-Korean CVC top players, it usually wins because it is just so chaotic and it is just so in your face, and it is just so the type of CVC that just wants to trade and wants to put your micro skills, your link banes, your surprises all to the test. So I love it. I think it's super fun.
No, I actually totally agree with that. I feel like in general, there's a lot of the Europeans who are kind of just like, they like to have the little gentleman's agreement or the pact. It's like, yes, we shall go to Roaches and get our upgrades and then fight in the center of the map. And the Koreans are just like, I am not giving you any affordances. I will flood out Lings and Banelings early on to make sure that you're up for the challenge every single time, no matter how many times you hold it off. And it definitely makes for more exciting games, I will say.
Definitely. And a lot of these are things that the Europeans might call like something like somewhat of random timings, right? Where there's a link flood and they just make so many links out of nowhere and you weren't expecting it and you think, oh, well, that doesn't make any sense. But really the thing about link floods, and I'm sure that we'll see a lot of that in this series, is that links are so quick to make, so cheap, and they are so fast that, you know, like at the very least, you are going to force a response very quickly thereafter when you make them. And it is oftentimes much easier to be the aggressor than the defender. So, you know, if I make 20 links, it's not like you have a great economic lead, because if you don't make 20 links right away, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and I feel like this is actually usually around one of those times that you start to see some of the players making a few links. So we do see a few in production, Ragnarok adding another 8 or so, but it is kind of like the more tame level of Zerglings. We're still seeing a lot of droning, and you know, I feel like if you make it into like the mid-30s of workers, it's like, oh, you actually did have both of the players just kind of play a little bit more macro and not go for the big link floods we were talking about as much.
Absolutely, yeah, and tell for that is going to be oftentimes the Baneling Nest. If the Baneling Nest is skipped in favor of, say, a Roach Warren, then we're going to see a little bit more of a test. But both players actually just morphing a single Baneling for defense, so they're both looking for those very tiny economic edges, and neither is going to get it, as both players end with 38 workers, now 40 for Armani, so a slight lead, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah, already seeing +1 melee coming out over here for Ragnarok, though, and you can already see Armani's going for missile attack. This is a lot more along the lines of what I think the Europeans would like, you know, going into Roaches and everything, but Ragnarok maybe thinking about throwing out a Spire after that lair finishes that up.
Yeah, I think that's going to be exactly it. If you are committing the gas into the upgrades for Zerglings, then that means that, you know, you can make Zerglings and have them be stronger and they don't cost any gas. So you're going to have more gas that can be allotted to those Mutas. So like you said, there is a Spire coming up as well as a lot of workers on the side of Ragnarok. So Armani is going to have to catch wind of this. And I am not sure that he has yet, as the openers have been very similar up until this point. If he does, he's going to have to look to be aggressive or at least secure himself a 4th base very quickly. Oh, it's Aspire for him too. But I don't like this as much, right? Because he has the Roach Warren and the Roach investments, and that's just not going to help him any.
Yeah, it's just going to take away from the gas count that you need for those Mutas, and it's definitely going to complicate things, as well as just, you know, the Lings are also going to complement the Mutas a lot better with just being also very mobile units that can run around. And, well, hey, you know, if you get up a couple of those melee upgrades, it also doesn't hurt for some of those Baneling run-bys.
Yeah, and this is the part where it starts getting a little bit bizarre, right? It's like you're going for Muta very quickly. Like you are about to have Muta, and yet you are morphing a bunch of Banelings. And yeah, it's kind of strange. It will be spotted, and at this point, Armani, I think, has to decide it's too late to go for a Roach counter offense. All right, Banelings, good micro, good splits preemptively. Looking for a Hatch Snipe, not gonna find it, and this was kind of wasteful from Ragnarok, right? And we were talking about how there's going to be a little bit of a wasted investment in terms of gas for the Roach player. Well, the non-Roach player just wasted just as many Banelings. So from this position, I think that Armani is going to have to make something like Corruptors to deal with the Muta. I don't know that I like that many Roaches unless he starts tunneling claws right after the speed is done. And +1 attack, this is bizarre.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, if you're it's numerically proven, if you were in a Muta versus Muta war, Carapace upgrade is substantially, like 10 times better than a weapon upgrade. But it looks like, you know, after scouting at the Spire, he is going to go for the Corruptors like you were saying. But yeah, going for the weapon upgrade is interesting.
Interesting to say the least, because Corruptors are not often going to be able to punish Muta, right? So what are you getting the upgrade for? To kill Overlords? Because the equation for the Muta is very simple. You have more than me, more than I can take, I'll run away. I'm faster than you, right? In the case of Muta versus Corruptor. So, yeah, I really don't understand. It's not like the upgrade is going to make the Corruptors pee on hatcheries faster or anything like that. This Muta already finding a lot, and the Corruptors, this is their job. It's zoning out. So what I think might happen is that Armani is looking to go back into Muta after he gets air control. But even then, it's kind of a little bit sketchy to get that attack upgrade over the armor upgrade. But if he doesn't go into Muta, I just don't know what this is about.
Yeah, definitely a strange play, but we'll see how it actually ends up panning out. Because we do have, I think we actually have a delay on the +1 missile attack or flyer weapon over there for Ragnarok with the Overseer. So nice little delay there. It's going to give him a bit of an edge on the timing of that, but. Yeah, at this point, Ragnarok has really not been able to find a lot of damage. And you were talking about this, where the Mutas are maybe able to poke in, find a few Overlords here and there, but he really hasn't been able to find too much until, I guess, actually this is a really, really nice cancel.
Yes, indeed. That is very nice. That +1 melee coming in handy for that one. So, and Armani is still making a lot of Corruptors. So I'm still not sure how he's going to look to capitalize, because it's kind of overkill. Like, Corruptors trade very well against Muta in straight-up fights. It's just on the Mutas to decide whether they want to fight.
Oh boy.
So we'll see. Okay, very good pickoffs. That's way too many Corruptors for Ragnarok to handle. He's going to have to run away, but doesn't quite take the right angling, and it's going to lose a few Muta. This is a lot of Roaches now, and it is upgraded Roaches that are going to be two-shotting those Zerglings. This is looking pretty scary, and Ragnarok didn't find enough damage with it. This is looking pretty powerful for Armani.
Yeah, there's a counterattack of these Lings on the other side that do manage to snipe off the third base, so that's a good pick off there for Ragnarok, but you still need to take care of this army. The Mutas sacrificing their lives to try and pick off these Corruptors, but in the meanwhile, while these Corruptors are being kept busy, the Mutas are not killing these Roaches on the ground.
Yeah, and the Muta can't even win the fight against the Corruptors, but let's imagine that they did, right? Let's imagine that these Corruptors disappear. The Roaches are still too many on the ground. So, yeah, that's gotta be a gutting loss for Armani, who transitioned first to that Spire, who had that advantage going for him, right? Like, you're the first player to Aspire. You got away with not making Roaches or upgrades, and then he wastes so many Banelings, I think. Armani with a good switch into Corruptors, and yeah, I mean, we have what we have. Armani is the victor of the first game.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was definitely a very strange way for things to pan out where you are going for that faster Spire and everything. I guess Aspire, maybe he didn't quite have as much of an idea that Armani was going for the Spire as well. So he thought like, oh, well, I have some time because he's going into the Roaches. Because remember, he was getting that +1 missile attack. He saw the Roaches with his big like Baneling attack and everything. Maybe he just felt like he had more time.
Yeah, it's probably something like that. Some sort of underestimation there on the side of Ragnarok. I mean, I still don't know that I understand the +1 attack on the side of Armani because, you know, even Corruptors, they already have a base armor, so they already fare well against the Muta bounce in particular. So more upgrades on the armor just makes Corruptors that much stronger than Muta, and it's just 50 extra gas that is really mostly all you're gonna be worried about. So yeah, I'm not sure what to expect in this series. That was pretty crazy. There were a few moves that I didn't quite understand, but such is the nature of CBC, Ravi.
Yeah, and you know, funny enough, it was, I have to say, not quite the exact ZVZ that I was expecting. I was expecting either like, you know, the head-on like Ling Ling versus Bling Bling, like lots of Zerlings and Banelings mixing against each other, and then maybe going into like the Mutas and maybe like both players going into Mutas or something along those lines, or a Roach big counterattack. But I wasn't expecting like the super defensive Roach Corruptor player kind of waiting and then just getting a moment to barrel across the map and basically just kill his opponent right there.
Yeah, just way too much space given, really. I mean, once you have enough Corruptors that you're going to trade effectively, gas for gas. Corruptors, again, like something like 20 Corruptors will beat something like 30 Muta or something of the sort. It's pretty close to that math. So it is gas for gas. Corruptors are incredibly efficient. Like I was saying, the thing is, Muta don't have to engage Corruptors. Muta can wait until they have overwhelming numbers to engage Corruptors, outmaneuver Corruptors, pick off Overlords, deal with, you know, ground armies, whereas Corruptors only have the job of zoning out Muta, and once in a while peeing on a hatchery or killing some Overlords if the Muta have been dealt with.
Yeah, if the opportunity presents itself. But okay, well, that's quite a strange way to get started with game number 1. Armani with that 1-0 lead. Remember, this is yet again another best of 5 that is going to be the last qualifying match we have to go to the group stages. So only one slot left. Let's see if this man down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map is going to be able to continue his streak from the Afrika Freaks. He is Armani.
On the top right-hand side from Alpha X, it is Ragnarok. No early shenanigans once again. It looks like we're headed straight for a 16 hatchery on either side again.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious. You know, Paulo, there was like a solid, I want to say, it felt maybe like 7 months. It was probably shorter than that. But there was just that period where there were so many games. You got the good old 12-pool drone pull, with the spine collars being proxied and everything. What happened to that? Is just people got a lot better at defending it? Do you still see it every so often?
I think the drone pool in particular is a little bit difficult. There's a lot of longer distance maps, especially in CBC, they get picked a lot. No one really picks Submarine. And, you know, on maps like Submarine, then 12 pool will be an option. But players have gotten very good, like you were hinting at dealing with it. There were a few different responses that you could do against the 12 drone pool. And once those are figured out, it's a lot easier to, you know, just go back to remembering. I'm sure that type of strategy will come back given enough time, just because as players forget how to deal with it, or if they haven't dealt with it on a certain map, then they forget how to wall off about it against it, or maybe their buildings have evolved to where they're looking to cover other areas, and you know, they could have like spawning pools that are exposed or things like that. But yeah, for now we don't see a lot of it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I do enjoy some of the creative walls that people came up with. I think one of my favorites involved building a hatchery to generate creep, then canceling the hatchery and building something else 1 hex off. Like, people got very creative.
Yes, indeed. That is pretty cool. I don't know if I've seen that one, actually.
Oh, you know, who the person who I believe helped come, it was 2 people who came up with it. I think it was Silky and Panda Bear Me, actually.
Ah, I see. I remember that. Was that on Death Aura specifically?
I think it was Death Aura, actually, yeah.
If it wasn't Death Aura, it was on a similarly tiled map, right? The same mood, at least.
Yeah, and my favorite was that it was like this super crazy complicated wall-off, and then I think it was like there were a few matches that Serral was getting 12 pool drone pulled, and he tried to do it, but he messed it up. And it's like those are the games he loses, and he's like, ah, whatever, and then he just plays totally normal, and he demolishes his opponent instead.
Yeah, it was easy to mess up for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, those strategies also gain value if there is, for example, a natural that can be sieged from the main, so that you can make spine crawlers that are far away from the main, but siege the natural from the high ground. Stuff like that. Like there's on this map, for example, it wouldn't be very good. There's no place where you would place a spine that it would reach the other side of the Minorex.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, of course, guys, we do see a pretty normal looking ZVZ, and yet again, both these players are going to be getting into the 30s of their worker count, so I do feel like we make it safely past that super duper early stage where some of those Baneling floods start coming on out, but Alieness is finishing up over here for Ragnarok. We'll see what he's going to end up doing, if he's going to just make like the singular defensive Baneling again like he did last game.
Yeah, and a very fast +1 attack on the side of Armani, so it looks like the players are liking this one quite a bit. It has long been one of my favorite ways to open in CVC. I think it's a little bit different than the roaches. Links are so maneuverable that you feel like you have a lot of control. But if you're unable to find damage with those, it can really spiral out of control. It's not that the upgrade is super expensive. It's that to make it good, you need to get it very early on. And the earlier you invest into something, the more expensive it becomes because it's a larger chunk of your income, right? Or it is, for example, your first move. So you could have started a lair much earlier or something like that with that gas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ragnarok is going to be going for the +1 missile attack and the Roach Warren. So we do kind of see a little bit of the inverse of last game, but we'll see, because I do see that Armani is getting his own Roach Warren and everything. He is going for that missile attack still, but with the Roach Warren, it does indicate maybe he's either trying to fake that he's going to still make a bunch of roaches and that he's also just getting +1 missile attack, or he is actually looking to just do a light investment into it.
Yeah, I like the roaches defensively if he can get them, but we'll see what happens here. The lair is about to complete on the side of Ragnarok, and yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see a Spire, but it is going to be roach upgrades. So we'll see how this game carries on. We haven't seen very many links made with that +1 attack, and Nidus, this is bizarre once again. I mean, he made +1 armor, +1 attack, so could that have been a mistake? Does he think he has roach upgrades?
Okay. Here's my thought. All right, is that the melee? Okay, wait, did he just cancel the? Do you let the Nidus finish?
I don't know. There is Nidus on both
he canceled
sides.
It.
Okay, well, yeah, that Nidus was one of the more bizarre parts of his strategy. So I'm kind of glad that he's changing his mind. He must be as confused as I am because, yeah, he kind of went for everything here, right? Like Armani, he went for the +1 melee. Now he is going to use it somewhat. He went for roaches without speed, and now he's also going for a Spire. I wouldn't know what to think if I was Ragnarok, but, you know, he needs a couple of Banelings, and he should be able to deflect this first attack he sees.
Yeah, he's going to see a few of those slow roaches making their way across the map, but it's going to make things even more awkward because that Nidus Swarm is going up completely unscouted, and, well, all those roaches that you made are kind of useless in the center of the map if they're not back at home to help defend.
Oh, this could turn into a really awkward base race, perhaps. We'll see what happens here, as the Links are going to run back, and there's no Banelings here, so those Links, actually, if they can find the surface area onto the roaches, but there's too many roaches now, and too close to the choke, and it's going to be GG. Well, Roddy hinted at a Clown Fiesta. I think he cursed or blessed. You serious? I'm not sure. But
Blurst? Yeah.
Blurst?
I don't know either, Paulo. That's a weird one. I don't know how to quite categorize that game outside of... It was a very, very odd series of events, and I feel like Ragnarok it's either got to be what you said, Paulo, where it's like Ragnarok thought he was getting +1 missile attack, and he wanted to go for the Nidus Swarm, then he noticed at the last second, oh shoot, it was melee, I misclicked or something, and he was like, all right, reformulate a plan, Spire, that's what I do in this situation, right? So like, it's either that, or it was supposed to be some like 8th level mind game. It's got to be one of the two.
Yeah. I mean, it's likely that it was a mind game. We have to give them credit somewhat. But I mean, when you look at the Nidus and then it's canceled, also clearly there is room for something to have gone messed up as far as he was concerned, especially with how fast he GGs as well, right? Like he didn't think he had much of a chance. Anyway, we are going to go for a quick break and then we'll be right back with the end of the final series.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting started with yet another one of these great ZVZ games as we head on into game number 3 after what I can only describe as a very fast and very confusing first 2 games. Paulo, what do you have any other way of putting it?
No, but I am looking forward to another one, Ravi, because these have been indeed crazy. And it is not like there's any chance that we are misreading it because, you know, Armani was just as confused with that Nidus cancel. We were debating whether that counts as a Nidus for the count because we were saying there's gonna be a bunch of Niduses. Is it one? You were saying maybe it's half a Nidus.
Actually, what is the plural of Nidus, Paulo? Is it Nidai? To Nidus's?
Nidus's, actually, for sure. Sadly,
Okay.
right? Like, I wish it was something better. But it's probably Nidus's.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, guys, we're going to be starting up here in the top left-hand side of Romanticide, top of the blue Zerg player, representing the Afrika Freaks. He is Armani.
And in the bottom right-hand side, the man who hopes to live up to his name as far as Armani is concerned. The final destruction of the world, it is Ragnarok. Hoping to shatter Armani.
Hoping to shatter our man.
Is no Thor. We don't have a Thor, do we, in StarCraft?
You know, we used to have a player. There was definitely a player of Wings of Liberty who had a first name of Thor. I can't remember who, though.
Yeah?
Okay, Thor's.
Oh, you mean like a first name Thor?
I thought someone had a first name of Thor.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Has to be pretty cool. In contention with Max Angel for the coolest name, probably.
It's pretty high up there, but I don't know. See, I thought Max Angel couldn't get any cooler as a name, but then I learned through the Katowice profiles that they were tweeting out, his middle initial is D. And I mean,
right?
How much cooler could you have of a middle initial than to say it's a middle initial of D and your first name is Max? You're Max D. Like, what else could you ask for in life? Your parents blessed you.
Yeah, I suppose they did. You don't actually know what his last name, what his middle name is?
Or
would it ruin it? I don't tell me. Okay, yeah. Don't tell me if it ruins it. All right, so we have exact same openers as the previous two games, Ravi. Nothing out of the ordinary. 16 hatchery, gas and pool to follow. And if things continue as they have been, then we can expect Baneling nests defensively from both of these players. Oftentimes in a series like this, the players just, if they both feel like they are the favorite, and I mean they're 1-1, so they probably do, and you know they're in contention to where you never know. Like I feel like both of these players are in contention for that spot as 4th, 5th, perhaps best Zerg in Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to sound reductive or anything, because they can definitely bring the fight to any of the top 3. But I think that they feel confident enough, right? Like, and I think that that's what's showing with these openers.
No, I completely agree with you, and I think that Zerg in Korea has always been a little bit of an endangered species outside of the very top. And right now we do have, you know, Rogue, Dark, and I guess Solar around there. But behind that, it's like there's always been a bit of a big gap. And I feel like Armani and Ragnarok are, I agree with you. I think that they are the closest two Zerg players to closing that gap. And this is going to be a pretty big event for both of them. If either one of them is able to win this series and then go on and have a good performance in the groups, I think that's actually something that people will remember. People will remember the hype around, say, Armani, if he's able to make his way out of the groups and have a good run for Katowice, because this is the biggest tournament for the year, right? Katowice is the big finale. It's the big climax. This is where you can make a name for yourself, if anywhere.
Most certainly. Both players going for the default openings is a little bit surprising, because maybe to some degree that's also kind of what they are lacking, these two players, to catch up to the others. Because, I mean, as far as strategy is concerned, or as far as tactics are concerned, rather, I think they're great. Mechanics, fantastic, right? But, like, are they too predictable on this front? Because I can't imagine Dark or Rogue ever going for the same opener 3 times in a row in a series, right? And yet that's what we have from these players. Both of them even making just the one safety Baneling.
Yeah, just the singular safety Baneling, and both of them always end up actually getting either really quick pickoffs or, you know, relatively easy pickoffs on each other's safety Banelings. So not a whole lot happens after that. We do have a pretty quick layer getting started up over here for Ragnarok compared to Armani, who's going for his +1 missile attack and his Roach Horn a little bit earlier on, even morphing in a few extra Banelings over here just to deal with the large number of Zerglings that are out over here for Ragnarok. But that is actually going to give him a, I want to say like almost a 30-second head start on his lair for Ragnarok.
Yeah, and this is one of the more awkward +1 millies that I've seen, because it is so late, relatively speaking, right? Like, the lair is nearly done. It is very difficult to find an opening with Lings where they trade well against Roaches, really, because you have to get the upgrade before the Roaches get their upgrade. And then the +1 melee can be really strong against Roaches. It can be really good at picking off buildings. But if the Roach upgrade is ahead of you already, then I mean, the Roaches two-shotting Lynx is gonna be better than the Lynx having one extra attack to deal with the Roaches. So it's a little bit strange that he goes back for it, but at least it's somewhat consistent with his Spire, as we were foreshadowing in previous games.
Yeah, that is going to be a nice little blessing over here. This is probably an intentional +1 melee, unlike, you know, it seemed like maybe not in the last game, but yeah, the Spire going to be coming on out. It is going to give him that opportunity to seize control of the map. Once the mutas pop out, you can pick off Overlords and just generally keep your opponent a bit at home. And in this game, as opposed to the, you know, the first game, it's not going to be a counter Spire with Corruptors and stuff coming on out. It's going to be a Nidus Worm. So this is going to be all about trying to hit that exact timing there for Armani.
Yeah, I really like this on the side of Armani, and this is one of the ways to deal with Muta this time around. It is spotted early enough that I think if he can get enough queens, and he started 3 queens with that Nidus, so he's gonna have something like 6, I believe, maybe 7, and if he can load them and load them out, these Roaches are gonna gain space for that Nidus to go up. Hopefully, for Armani, the Roaches and the rest of the units aren't out in order to deny his Nidus, and then we could have a very powerful attack. Let's see. Here come the Nidus.
Yeah, decent number of units are already out and forward, so they are going to be there to potentially spot for that Nidus, like you were saying. And
where is it though?
Ragnarok, he just has no idea about this because he's still trying to reestablish his 4th base. Now the Overlord is absolutely going to see all of that, so it's about how quick he can react. And the mutas come diving on forward.
Yeah. Look at the Lynx.
Get this in time.
I love that the Lynx completely ignore the Roaches, right? Like, what a great maneuver. And now, I mean, 5 Roaches. You can deal with that later. Now Ragnarok is going to have such a great position. He recognizes that. So even though he's going to clear this army out, he's just going to make more units. He's going to say, you are kind of all in. This is a heavy committal. You don't just make this many queens in CVC and hope for the best, because both players kind of are, obviously both players are Zerg. However, he has found a way to drop that Nidus. If these Spores come out, Spores are amazing against Muta. He just has to hold the fort here. Be careful to get surrounded with those Lynx.
Yeah, I love this move over here for the Lynx to just go after the Nidus Worm.
Wow.
Retreat path for a bit, while the Mutas can now dive in forward, picking off both of those Spore Crawlers. Really, really nice pickoffs. Even get a Queen.
Yeah.
I need some more Lynx.
Yeah, one of the higher energy queens as well. And the Lynx are going to wrap back around. Let's see, Armani not really transfusing that Nidus. And now with the Lynx getting to surround onto the queens, it's all going to get cleared out. Armani is now looking for whatever damage he can find. He's going to split his Roaches as he should to go to all 3 bases. He's looking for economic damage. Behind this, he's going to have to drop Spores defensively. There is no way that he finds a kill move. What he needs to do is kill enough drones that he is in a position to transition. And it looks like he might have found it somehow. Let's see.
Yeah, 14 workers are already going down, and these Roaches still alive. Going after the Spire, a nice transfuse is going to be the difference maker in keeping that Spire alive. But even then, there are still more Roaches at the front lines. Armani seemed so close, but he did finally break through.
Yeah, but these Roaches were just kind of not doing anything, right? Like, you have Roaches that have to be dealt with in the main. Therefore, the Roaches that are in the natural or were attacking the 3rd, they need to run in and continue to find drones. They were just kind of nibbling away at the Baneling Nest and waiting for the Muta to deal with the Roaches in the main. It's just made a little bit too easy for Ragnarok, who's not going to struggle to clear this out once again, going after the Spores with the Muta. This is going to buy some time for the Roaches. Some Lynx being made to buffer. That's good, because if your opponent is killing Lynx, they soak up a little bit more damage than the drones do. They can attack back. So that's a good move, but is it enough?
Yeah, that Muta count is kind of starting to get a bit out of control now here, Paulo. And these Roaches, I mean, they are still getting a bit of damage done over here. Maybe going to pick off another one of these queens, and another Nidus Worm will get up. Sure, more drones are going down, but at what point does it not matter if you made Spore Crawlers back at home? The Mutas are just going to come kill you right after you clean up the last of your Nidus Worms and Roaches.
Yeah, and I think Armani is very aware of that possibility, and that's why he has been putting so much focus on killing that Spire, right? So the Muta may not get out of control, the Muta numbers, and that is a good thing. However, I don't think he did enough damage, because with this, Ragnarok is going to get complete map control. His Muta number is still pretty scary. There's not going to be the ability for any Overlords to be out on the map providing vision for Armani whatsoever, and he has to get an answer for the Muta. It's going to be Infestors. That's a Hail Mary.
He's going to need a bit more time to get out enough infestors to deal with this kind of mute account. Now, last of these roaches is going to get picked off. Even saves the 4th base for now. And remember, like you were saying, Paulo, Third Spire? Oh, shoot. Yeah, okay. Well, he's definitely going to have a little bit of a safety to fall back to there, but regardless, we're going to end up seeing all of those overlords starting to go down, so no easy Nidus Swarms can just counterattack over here, and even if they could, the Lings have been doing such a great job cleaning them up wherever they may be. Muta's actually not really finding the angle that I thought they would just yet. I really thought they would just be able to dive in here.
Yeah, but this is weird from Ragnarok. I'm not sure if I like it, Ravi. I think he is in such a dominant position, and I think he's still going to win this game. But remaking that Spire, it's just like, why do you want more Muta? It is the only liability is if those Muta all get bungled or all get countered by something like a Viper down the line or something of the sorts. Now he's committing to where if he doesn't end the game with this Muta, it's actually offering a door back into the game for Armani. That said, he has found a lot of damage already.
I think Pathogen Glance was research, right? I just saw a bunch of infestors pop, so this is maybe going to be a big moment over here. Oh my God, the massive couple of fungals. We're starting to see some very, very slow splits coming out of these mutas. Are any of them actually going to be able to survive?
Yeah, I think most of them will survive, and that is because the queen count was diminished in between, right? If you had 5 queens there, then all of a sudden you're killing a bunch more Muta, and those are extremely expensive units. Also, now the Infestor tech has been revealed, so Ragnarok is not going to be so careless. That was the one opening that Armani had, and now I am super worried for him.
This is going to be a very, very tough spot for him to try and make work now, but... well, like you said, if there's going to be still that continued investment into those mutas, I guess he hasn't made a whole lot more mutas, but I think he's getting up some upgrades, which I don't hate if you have 24 mutas. I mean, yeah, get the flyer attack upgrade, but lots of Banelings. You know, Banelings, though, at the same time, Banelings also going to be a little bit susceptible to, you know, 7 infestors being out of the map.
Absolutely. Infestors, fungals, I mean, the Banelings tend to clump up. They are extremely deceptively, I would say, expensive units. The roaches can tank a lot of them. So yeah, it's a strange choice, to be honest. When I see the +2 melee being researched for Ragnarok, I'm a little bit baffled because you're kind of locking yourself into the composition. There's something that you can do maybe later, transition into something like Ultralisks, but they really don't trade that well. And there's the Infestation Pit, so we might just see something like that.
Yeah, I like that. And I actually really also just like the idea of Ragnarok saying, well, you know what? I'm still able to use these mutas and even maybe the Banelings to just keep you locked in on very few bases. But well, that queen count is a lot higher than it was before. The Fungals able to lock down and snag a kill on a couple of these mutas. Not too many, but oh my God, 21 drones going down to the Baneling run by over the 3rd base.
Yeah, and that has to be very relieving for Ragnarok because he needs to find this damage. He's put himself in a position where, yes, he is in a dominant position in so long as his attacks work, and that's never a given, right? So finding those drones is going to feel really good for him. Hydras are in production. If there is lurkers coming down, then this Muta can eventually become a liability, and there is not going to be upgrades to transition easily, like I was saying for Ragnarok. So yeah, he has to be looking to put a ribbon on this game and close it out soon.
Oh, okay. Playing with fire over here as he continues to dart back and forth with those mutas, but he is buying space with them more than anything else. Now, a lot of Banelings. Oh my God, he almost got the Hydra in. That actually would have been really nice.
That would have been great. I almost feel like maybe killing the hatchery might have been fine too, just suiciding those Banelings. Obviously far from cost efficient, but at least then you know you're on 4 base against the 3 bases of your opponent. He has finally also taken Ragnarok, that is his rich Vespene Geyser, at his 4th base, so that's going to allow him a little bit more wiggle room as well. The hive is nearly completed, and I expect we'll see Ultras. I do not love this push from Armani. I think that maybe turtling and going into lurkers would be his best option, but hey, let's see what happens.
Well, Queens are going to be able to deal with the Ling run by for the most part, but 11 more workers go down. That's a kill on the 4th. That was already very softened up, so that's nice there for Armani, but he is down to 17 and still decreasing numbers of workers. This is actually just the do-or-die push, and guess what? Cats, when you're in a do-or-die situation, you really don't want to face off against this many Banelings.
Yeah, certainly not. They're going to be coming from every angle, but great fungals onto most of them. Regardless, there is too many Muta, perhaps, for this Hydras to deal with, and Armani is going to have to tap out.
Wow, really, really well done. A little bit scary there for a moment, but you know, at the end of the day, when you just have 2 more bases up on your opponent and all of the gas in the world to just make 40, 50 banelings, you can get away with that. So nice closing out over there for Ragnarok. But man, that was a very strange opening for the game, I would say.
Oh, that was super scary too. And I was concerned, even if you just back away after killing that 4th base, I feel like you're still in a position where you can kind of fight for the game, certainly from behind, right? But I think on that front, it was good of Armani, or of Ragnarok rather, to give up that base. I think that was the correct call. Set up for a big flank, hope that your opponent sticks around. And yeah, there wasn't much of a chance. Even with that many fungos, it was just overwhelming.
Yeah, very much so. It's hard to actually even remember that game actually began with, I want to say, probably like 9, 10 Nidus worms just popping up at every single possible location with roaches rallying out while mute accounts just continued to grow. Like, it actually started in a very hectic, aggressive way there. But at the end of the day, I mean, you can't argue with the results. The mutas definitely got what they needed to get done. And that is going to give them a nice little edge in this series, I would say now.
Definitely. I mean, the Nidus Worm could have been a little bit faster. It was looking for an angle, like you were hinting at, to not get spotted, but it got spotted anyway. And the first one getting shut down, that's usually just kind of lights out. You're playing from far behind from that position, and that's kind of how we saw the game unfold, with a few hiccups in between. So, I mean, this series is crazy and exciting to say the least. I am still very unsure of who's going to take it.
Well, there's definitely going to be a very nice lead there of 2-1 for Ragnarok, and I agree with you. I feel like these players have both been really back and forth. Like, it's not that one player is just absolutely smacking down the other in any way, shape, or form. But, I mean, even if you say 50-50 odds for both players, well, there's one player that's up in the series and 1 game away from moving on to the next stage of IEM Katowice. So, well, Cats, let's just say it's a little scary for Armani.
It certainly is. And the man himself, he is trailing, and he is in the top right-hand side. He would love to do an Armani exchange on his scoreline right now. It is Armani. Ooh.
Down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, a man who's already up 2-1 and says, I've had enough. I'm done with today. I'm ready to move on to the group stages. He is Alpha X's Ragnarok, going for the 12 pool.
Enough is enough is enough. I can't go on. Let's see what happens. I mean, this map, I think it's a medium-sized map, more or less. I mean, it would be large if it wasn't for those acceleration zones. So, you know, it's not the most ideal map for 12 pool, but at the same time, a lot of the time, the pathing for Zerglings and scouts that don't come into play, like SCVs or probes, it can be a little bit different for both players. So we'll see if the Overlord can catch a whiff of this Zerglings. It is certainly not going to be super expected for a 12 pool to show up. So yeah, we'll see what Armani can do.
Yeah, and we do see that there is the hatchery and everything being taken. So Ragnarok is just doing the 12 pool aggression, try and put on some pressure, but it is not doing the drone pull by any means, even though we spent a lot of time talking about that earlier. Still making more lings right now, though. He is going up to a fair number of them here.
Yeah, he is certainly committing a little bit harder to this. He is looking for a hatchery snipe. It is not going to be particularly easy to find. The Overlord did spot the Zerglings right away, so there wasn't any attempt at evading the vision, which is one thing that you can kind of do and gamble a little bit further. But yeah, let's see this drone pull. That's actually a lot of drones pulled off the line right away. And let's see Ragnarok's and Armani's micro here. A decent start for Ragnarok, but actually a decent start for Armani at this point. Double pull on the Lings and not really finding much damage or any kills on those drones. But now with the Lings popping up, Armani, I think, is going to have a comfortable... Oh, but 2 Lings gets around it. So that's a little bit of a win for Ragnarok, who, like you said, did commit a lot to this.
Yeah, one of the drones going down over there for Armani. So if he could find a few more, this could maybe start working out. He has 3 Lings segmented off to the north side, and the mineral line doesn't quite find the damage, though. Good reaction there from Armani. And finally, he does manage to, for the most part, push Ragnarok back now. I think Ragnarok is still just scoping around, be like, if your queen gets a little too far forward, maybe I can get a pick off over here. But no, he's got to transition at this point.
Yeah, I mean, with the queen being out, there's not much damage to be found, and it would be a huge mistake for him to try and press the issue, because then he has to remake the links in order to answer back the links that would no doubt be counterattacking. And on that front, Armani is going to be getting a very fast, well, a relatively fast, I guess, for the state of the game, link speed. As well as he is droning up for the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him push the gas pedal, and actually I am a little bit surprised to see him be this defensive, but I guess he deems that he defended so cleanly against that 12 pull that he has the room to wiggle and to make an extra spine. Yet still he's making it. See, that's bizarre, because you're making links, so you'll be safe no matter what. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. You know, if you're going to make the units to be offensive, you probably don't need to worry about the defense as much, but it's going to just go straight for the third base. And you know, this is always one of those kind of conundrums, I feel like, for Zerg players. When you go for the 12 pool or something along those lines, you kind of get put into this position where you're like, well, now I don't have Zergling speed. My opponent is going to have it. Usually is the answer just don't worry about the Zerglings anymore. Just get up to the roaches, turtle up on those two bases till you can establish a third.
Wow. Love this, though. I mean, those links are not going to find anything. Like on the other side of the map, they're useless defensively because the wall... Oh! No cancel! No cancel, right? Or was there a cancel? What? No, there was a cancel. There was a cancel.
Yeah, I think there was a cancel, but...
That was a kill Fox.
Really trying to go hard to break down this wall. That's like, that's not going to happen, right? Like, I don't think this is going to work out.
I mean, if that queen falls, there is a chance that those links get around, but okay. Ragnarok has done his due diligence. He is going to place that extra Evo chamber in the back. Yet still, these links, I love that move from Ragnarok, because they're going to be useless on defense, right? They never would have done it.
Yeah.
The Queen's got it on lockdown, so getting a cancel and slowing down that third, that is the main advantage that Armani was trying to run away with. So kind of back in the game-ish.
Okay, so I agree with you. I love the move from Ragnarok to use the slow Zerglings that we're not going to find a lot of value anymore and get a cancel on that third. That's awesome. Armani attack moving into the wall and killing one queen in exchange for the extra Zerglings he made. That brings him now down 10 workers, or I guess 11 workers now. It's 28 lings have gone down.
Oh, God.
Armani,
Yeah.
like this, that's a really, really bad spot, right?
Yeah, I said kind of back in the game. He's super back in the game. Actually, he's well ahead. You're completely right. This was a disappointing set of decisions from Armani, certainly, right? Like to try and break that wall. Even just keeping the links alive, it gives him map control, right? Like that third wouldn't be going up, not for a long time. Those roaches wouldn't be out there. Just thinking that they own the place, right? Instead, it's Ragnarok making a Spire, not having to invest any extra units or any extra money into taking that third. And yeah, it's gonna be rough here for yo boy Armani.
Okay, well, the Spire is gonna be nearing completion around the time the lair for Armani is finishing up. That is also gonna be another little piece of the puzzle that Armani is going to have to try and solve. But I mean, there are no more chances for big mistakes or anything. This has already hit Armani being down 1-2, so he has to find a way to win this game. There's no, oh, I'll punt it off and say I'll win the next one if this one doesn't work out. Gotta come up with a solution. We'll see what his game plan is going to be over here. He's going to start getting some vision for the Overseer and spots out the completed Spire. And I mean, what can you do when you scouted this late outside of just build some spores and queens?
Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see the Roach Burrow and Tunneling Claw started, but again, we are looking at some prayers to heaven if you are Armani, because you really have to hope that your opponent messes up. There's room for mistake only on the side of Ragnarok, and yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm looking at what his 4 spores go down. I guess he could try to prolong the game, try to play more economically. He does have the base number of units that he's going to be safe on the ground for a while. Maybe start a Hydra then and turtle into lurkers again. I mean, no options are ideal here.
Yeah, I agree with you, but even though it's not necessarily ideal, I do like the idea of, yeah, you know what? Mutas do still need to try and find some kind of damage, right? So if you are able to just be somewhat more defensive, yeah, the spores are going to hurt because, of course, that's also, you know, drones that you're morphing in. That is a bit of your economy, but there's an opportunity for you to maybe get away with that. And he actually adds on Infestation Pit, so it looks like he is going to do some fast teching up to, well, we'll see if is he just going to go into a really fast hive or something, or is he over respecting the mutas?
No, I think he's probably going to go into Infestors, but I think Ragnarok is actually adapting better than Armani has throughout the series, and he has already gone for a Roach transition. And luckily for him, it's been spotted, but I'm not sure that Armani can do much about it, you know? So we'll see. And now investing most of his gas into Ravagers, which I kind of like better than Infestors, because Infestors are really not going to provide him any value. And this is one thing that Ragnarok hasn't done very well. He's been flapping around with his Mutas saying, hey, I didn't make any more. It's just 5.
Yeah, that's going to be a big reveal. Exactly like you said, not having to invest all that extra gas into the Infestors that won't find value is kind of a blessing there for Armani. Because now, yeah, those Ravagers can find value. All those Overlords out on the map that Ragnarok has been able to keep alive just because, well, I have Mutas and you don't. Well, now at least the Ravagers can start picking away at those Overlords and shutting down a bit of that map vision there for Ragnarok when he gets a chance.
Yeah, and this is ambitious to say the least. I was hinting at wanting to see Tunneling Claws and Burrow earlier, but it is super late now, right? And now you're up against Roaches, not so much Muta. Against Muta, maybe there's an oversight. Muta are very slow to kill Tunneling Claw Roaches, but you're going to have to be very, very lucky with your sneakiness. And this might be it, as Ragnarok deems that he has enough. He's pushing on forward, and he would be right, I believe. He is definitely ahead in supply. Ravi, I think we might have our end of the day, perhaps with Ragnarok being crowned or not crowned. I guess not much of a crown, but he's gonna advance on through. It looks like, as he continues to push back Armani, Ragnarok, the destroyer of worlds, the ender of all that is the life of Armani.
Breaking through. I mean, he just doesn't even care about eating some of the corrosive valves because he just has a raw sheer number of units needed. And there he is.